how might you structure a deal where you're still making money off of making content for them, but they're not leading at the same time? Like one guy I'm working with wants to do a podcast and he wants me to do all the post stuff. And he's all the way out in New York, so he's just going to record it himself. But charging however much per episode seems like I don't know how it would make sense for him in the short term or the long term.
This is a really good question. I was just watching this Myron Golden video. If you guys don't follow Myron Golden, by the way, like, dude, he's amazing. Go on YouTube and just like, I've been binging his stuff constantly. He's a Kingdom guy and just brilliant. And he talks about how his highest level coaching program is, well, his highest one now is $1 million a year. He has a coaching program for 350,000. And people be like, Myron, how could you charge that much money? And he said, how much money compared to what? And then he goes back to the story in the Bible where King Solomon has, I think it's, somebody can correct me, I think it's Beersheba, come to the palace. And it said that she was so wowed by just the experience of being in what he had built and how the way they were dressed and the way that the experience was, her spirit left her. Like she passed out essentially because it was just such an incredible experience. And she gave him the equivalent of what would today be worth $250 million worth of gold. And that's what the reason is, because he was able to solve huge problems for very powerful people. If he was to compare, he's like, okay, well, cool. Like, yeah, it's 250 grand or 350 grand, but compared to what? Like if I can solve a $10 million problem for somebody, 350,000 is nothing. Second thing is, this is why it's important to understand where your company's at from like your burn, and then to assess what it is actually worth for you to spend the time to get the work done. And that's where I go back to that wealthy creative calculator. I will look back and say, okay, if I want to make this much money, what do I have to charge for this thing? And them making a decision on whether or not they're investing before they're bankrolling on the podcast, that isn't your responsibility. It's theirs. Because people will invest tens of thousands into something that's not returning revenue right now because they see the potential in it. Be confident when you lay out your offer. In the future, when you do this, you just have to just come into this stuff neutral. And the best position you can possibly be in is not needing the deal. And the way that you guys solve that is by driving traffic to your offers, whether that's through organic, through paid, whatever it might be. You have to get more eyeballs on the stuff that you do so that the deals don't have so much meaning to them from a perspective of, oh man, if I don't get this, then what? This one is so big. What if I lose this relationship? That's the worst position you can be in from a negotiation standpoint. So the cure to that is just to market and to consistently put out content to attract new buyers into your atmosphere.